Okay. Coming to the first story, that is the mother in India. Okay. Now, um, a mother in India is, set in the backdrop of British India. Duncan portrays, the existence of Anglo-Indian women and their struggle for survival against the convention in the world. So you find the mother in India, the mother in this story is, talks about. Um, okay, before that, let me talk about Duncan. Duncan, was Duncan found the Anglo-Indian set of Calcutta and Simla impossibly stuffy, and still she had no difficulty with the lot of Indian and the ethics of imperialism. What she did question was the cost of the individual Anglo of sustaining the sterile and artificial facade of British order on the fringes of the empire. So her whole experience in India becomes is tinged um, with the regret for the loss of a more gratifying life abroad and for the waste of her youth, energies, and talent in a culture desert. And the protagonist of the story, a mother in India, is very close to Duncan's own outlook and experience, and her own frustration and disillusionment. Okay, so you find that. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir. Clearly.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So you find the mother is in this story is forced to send her infant daughter back to England because the daughter had fallen ill and the parents were very poor. So after 4 years of separation, when the mother goes back to England, the daughter is unable to recognize the mother. Interestingly, the mother not only gets rattled but also becomes angry when the daughter, becomes 21 years old. And the parents, come to take her back to India. So the mother feels no fond instinct for the daughter, and in fact treats her almost as an adversary. So the plot takes us back and forth between India and England. So you find, um, 1 minute. Okay. So, and the mother too, sure was sure about her daughter's incapacity and finer feelings, and totally misread and misunderstands her, and is unable to appreciate her in many way, and appear just to go doing her social duty towards the daughter. So she breaks the relationship between her male friend and her daughter, only to find that daughter decides to remain unmarried and devote her time to the care of her parents. So you find the daughter would, remain with them for the rest of the time. And for this, ironically, you find one must blame the British India. So later you find the two discourses seem to, coalesces here, her personal story and the Anglo-Indian collective history. So the responsibilities of being uh, an imperialist wife, the no less binding dictates on Anglo-Indian social customs, and the flinty, uncharitable individual personality of Mrs. Farnham all seem to be implicated in the development of the story. So you find Duncan
Yes, sir.
holds.
Sir, what is the meaning of flinty?
What?
Flinty. Sir, here it is written no? Anglo-Indian social custom and the flinty uncharitable. Sir, what is the meaning of flinty?
Okay, so flinty here is something which resembles flint, means um, something which is unmerciful.
Thank you, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
okay. So Duncan holds the circumstance responsible for the uh, mon uh, the okay the monstrosity that Helena Farmham seems to commit reflect. And behind the facade, you find of being a victim, one senses the definite Anglo-Indian instinct of being, self-centered and superior. So you find Duncan to introduce Sarah Cheneth Duncan. Um, is one of the Canadian writers. So you find, just a minute. Yeah. So Duncan is known, as Garth Grafton. Garth Grafton, uh, teacher, journalist, and author, and she was. Just a minute, just a minute. Yeah. So, and Sarah, Sarah is a journalist and a novelist, and Duncan notable career as a journalist is in the 1880s testifies to her determination and ability. So you find Sarah, as I said, was a journalist and a novelist. Duncan's notable career as a journalist in 1880 testifies to her determination and ability. So, the first woman employed full time by the Toronto Globe, that is in 1886 to 87. She also worked for the Montreal Star in 1887-88, and in the fall of 1888, Duncan embarked upon the round the world tour, which resulted in the first her first novel, A Social Departure, which was published in 1890. So while in Calcutta, Duncan met her future husband Everard Coates. So after her marriage, Duncan lived in India for the next 25 years, subsequently moving to England, and only two of Duncan's 22 books have Canada as their focus. So the Imperialists in 1904 is a brilliant study of the small Ontario town in which an idealistic young man is uh, there in politics and love. So you find this book, Cousin Cinderella in 1908, deals with the illusionment that a similarly idealistic Canadian brother and sister experience in English aristocratic circles. So one of the most penetrating you find um, um, observers of the Canadian society in her time, Duncan, combined shrewd analysis with a vivid personal style. So this is about Sarah Janet Duncan. So coming to this the story, so I'll talk about how the mother in India, a mother in India, talks about the mother who reunites with her daughter, but after 21 years, but feels no maternal instinct. So you find the setting is in British India, and such problems were very peculiar for time. As some of the Britishers considered themselves to be exiles in India, and the Anglo-Indian female writers made it a point to emphasize the stress under which the females lived, and the sacrifices they had made while living in India. Okay, so the dichotomy between the role of a wife and a mother in exile. Why in mother in exile? Yes. While mother is said to be in exile. Hello, are you all there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Why is mother said to be in exile? Why is this said? This particular term. Yes. Supriya?
Yes, sir. Sir, I don't know this story. I can't explain. Sorry.
No, it is said that mother is in exile. Why? Chavi?
Uh,
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Why it is said mother is in exile?
sir, we can say it's a symbol of immigration.
Immigration. Sorry, immigration. What do you mean by immigration here?
Like he actually displaced from London to India or India to London in that particular thing. I don't know, sir.
Exile means here the child was kept away from the mother. So the mother exile when what is banvas. Okay.
That means, sir, mother is in deep pain due to separate from her child, right?
Yes.
Got it.
So the Anglo-Indian female discourse you find wanted to oppose the picture painted by Kipling of the English Mem Sahib in India, who according to them was helpless victims of circumstances and who deserved sympathy, understanding and pity rather than, scorn. So the protagonist of the story, you find the mother somehow, uh, you know, doesn't deserve pity because of her heart, in fact, goes out for the daughter at the receiving end. So, in fact, you will also see that Duncan's attitude towards the mother is very ambivalent. Okay, very contradictory, you see. Duncan has presented the mother. So, Helena is portrayed as a true colonial who wants to remain at the center of authority. And the daughter's rejection, surprisingly, breeds a sense of insecurity in her. As the colonials, were not used to being rejected, Helena emerges from this, encounter as more of a colonial and, less of a mother. So this is how, it is being portrayed. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, clear. So coming, how, so we see here the two persons. One is Helena Farnham, Farnham, and who is the mother, and the daughter is Cecily. Cecily is the daughter. So you find the mother is narrating this. The story is told from her point of view, and she is basically a typical colonial character, very self-centered, very overbearing, too sure of herself. And Duncan is ambivalent in her attitude towards Helena. So on the one hand, she looks at Helena as a suffering uh, colonial who is a victim of circumstances, who has braved some of very hard and initially to bring up the daughter, and for the daughter's sake she is sent to England. So on the other hand, you find Helena does not show the usual motherly instinct and is too hard and harsh on her daughter, and show a very total lack of consideration, sympathy for the daughter. So you find the role reversal at the end of the story is very ironic, and makes us wonder about the real attitude of the writer towards the narrator. So Helena emerges from this encounter as more of a colonial and less as a mother. So her role as a mother was reflecting less, and as a colonial was reflecting more. So you find the portrait of Cecily, the daughter, is very sketchy. You find very sketchy, and she grew up in England among, spinster aunts, and never, knew the loan and care of a mother. And when at 21, she was asked, to go to her parents, whom she didn't know, to India, she very obediently, agrees to it. So then we find on the ship, Helena's friend, um, Dark, Darkness, find her attractive, and but the mother doesn't, like it. So she's very restrained and passive as a person. Doesn't show much of self confidence. Uh, though you find this towards the end, she surprises by deciding not to marry. So we are surprised because the narrator, her mother, had prepared us to believe the words in her. But you see, she is simple and predictable, but that does not make her the moron the mother wants us to believe. So you find it is only, it shows the mother as the narrator is not dependable. So Helena says, with conviction that uh, Cecily was the kind of a young person to marry a type and a typically be happy. So if one treats one's daughter as a rival, her response would tend to become biased and unpredictable. So you find the daughter is not exactly what she is supposed to be in her mother's eyes. And true, you find she is very simple and very passive, but she is also charming and she's caring person, capable of thinking for him herself and taking independent decisions. Okay. So Dacris doesn't have much of a role to play, except to bring before us the emotion and the sentiments of the narrator. So you find Dacris' attentions, when directed towards the daughter, makes the mother angry and expose the petty side of her nature. So for all the claim of the colonial, underneath, she appears as an insecure and unsure person. Okay, just give me 1 minute. Okay, did you understand this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, then we have the Sunday afternoon. Do you have any questions relating to this particular chapter, A Mother in India?
No, sir.
Supriya?
Sir, I want to ask you there is one doubt I want to ask you. Why Helena treats her daughter as a rival?
Probably because she had kept her away and for so many years, and she is imagining a lot of things about her. But instantly, if you see, there's nothing like that. She's opposite to what she is thinking.
Sir, you said that the whole story is narrated by the protagonist, the like Helena.
Hmm.
So here, Cicely is not as the character that she imagined, like an ideal daughter or what. That's why she was very unsatisfied with Cicely. Why she was angry? Actually, I couldn't get it.
What? 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 I'm not getting your question. What you're
Sir,
saying?
Helena is almost like ruined Cecily's life. Um, she
Doing Cecily's life means
No, sir, ruined. That means almost Dacre and Cecily, like Dacre was falling in love with Cecily, but she was discouraging Dacre. Why?
no. What are you asking? I'm not. I'm not.
Sir,
Your
actually,
question. Okay, listen. Please write your question in the chat box. Please write your question.
yes, sir.
Yeah. Why Helena discouraged Tucker to get married to Sicily? Okay. Yes. Okay. Um, Chavi, would you like? Can you see the question of Supriya? Chavi, hello.
Yes, sir.
No, no. I'm. Chavi is there. Chavi, when. Okay. Anyways. Okay. So yeah, your question is. So you find that what happens is. Mm, um, Darkness was Helena's friend, right,
Yes, sir.
on the ship, and he liked um, the daughter and found her to be very attractive. So you find she's very restrained about this. Helena is very restrained about this, uh, and you find um, she says she puts forth that she's a very passive person and doesn't show her much of her self confidence, as she surprises by deciding not to marry. Clear. So,
Yes,
and
sir.
we are you find, as the narrator says, her mother has had prepared to believe the words in her. um, she is very she was very simple and predictable, but that does not make her what the mother wants things to believe. So you find the the uh, the technique has the daughter uh, is represented with a very negative manner, and you see the sense of superiority and the spirit in which due course changes of a sense of alarming and anger towards the end. The narrator loses the centrality of her position, and you find herself almost very displaced, and that is why you find the writer is very ironic and very ambivalent towards the narrator, but you find the balance ultimately tilt towards the daughter, okay, who is not
Yes, sir.
uh, the demon, and she is uh, how she is being portrayed by the mother in a very wrong way.
Yes, sir. I got it.
Chavi, are you there? Yeah. Should we go to the next one?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the next story is the Sunday Afternoon by Alice Munro. Where is the voice coming from by Rudy uh, YB? Okay. There are two short stories.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So Alice Munro, you find, has written a lot of um, you know short stories, like The Office, for the example of the other stories in Dance of the Happy Shades, which was published in 1968, or the episodes of a novel, Lives of Girls and Women in 1971. So the knowledge that comes from art is at once pressureful, dangerous, and very potentially, isolating as experience itself, even though through the empirical life, which you find is very related. So you find Alice Munro. So you find she is a Canadian, a writer, short story writer who also got the Nobel Prize in literature in 2013. And uh, her works has been described as revolutionary and architecture of the short story, especially in the tendency of move forward and backward in time, and with integrated short fiction cycles. You find that she has displayed in inarguable virtuosity. So you find her stories have been said to embed more than announce, reveal more than parrot. And Munro's fiction, often set in a very narrative manner, in the southern Western Ontario, and she reflects in her stories the human complexities in an uncomplicated prose style. So, and Munro has received many literary accolades, like the Nobel Prize in Literature, and in 2009 the Man Booker International Prize, and so on and so forth. So you find the Sunday afternoon, uh, you find that the story talks about a girl who is at her growing stage, and the problems that she is facing in an unequal world. So this is written looking at the feminist point of view, and it talks about the vulnerability and the self awakening of maid, who is at the lower rung of the social ladder. And you find most of the time they ignored, and she leads to a mechanical life without any hope of any future, and she's not trained maid, at times find herself a misfit in the job, and people would eat and drink at the Sunday afternoon party, and result would become rockless. So this Alva would look at them with a feeling of unreality. When we see she's compared this world with her, and she also felt a bit out of touch with reality. So you find the difference between the male and the female attitudes, which is brought to the fore when Alva is to impress Mr. Garnet and ask him to take out King Lear for her. King Lear is the book, okay, text, King Lear. So she knew that a man would be more, impressed by King Lear than a woman, but nothing would make a difference to Mrs. Garnet for her. As a maid was, just a maid and nothing more. And suddenly you see everything is changed. So Mrs. Garnet's cousin came into the kitchen and kissed her on her mouth, and he treats her as a woman, not as a maid. So she feels, because she is treated as a woman, not as a maid. She feels that she's very grateful and she's very confident. Okay,
Yes, sir.
and you find the barriers between the higher, thing of the society and um, the lower strata has been eclipsed. So you find there's not much difference between her and them. And you find the basic level is the level of sex that they were equal. So this small act, leads to this sea change in her attitude. And she felt wanted and accepted, exhilarated and excited. You find Munro introduces an element of doubt at the end, and she has, she really been accepted as an example of man using a woman as a plaything. So you find Mrs. Garnet is a mistress of the house, very fussy and very cranky and trying to, be nice to the maid without actually, caring for her. So she's portraying, and she does uh, to the motion expected of a woman of high society, taking care of the, small niceties and trying to, help and guide the maid, taking care of the guests and the needs. So Mr. Garnet, who makes, a small appearance, feel responsible for the maid and tries to, take care of her by making polite inquiries. And Frederick is a typical male who goes very close to Alva and very close that she could feel his breath and sense the position of his hand but doesn't have the courage to touch her, though one feels that he is capable of doing so in the safer circumstances. So you find Alva is the picture of the neglected girl. Okay, she is diffident, awestruck, and unhappy with her situation. Okay, and you find that she is suddenly, and then you slowly you see that uh, as the story progresses, she feels confident, light, excited, and full of hope. The transition is very, natural and suggests how naive and basically simple Alva is. How simple Alva is, and she starts, nurturing hope, thinks, and makes plan for the future, and feels as if all her problems have been solved. So all these you see, and Alva is, after all, is very immature, is very ignorant of the ways of the world. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can we go to the next?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, where is the voice coming from? Is written by Rudy YB. Rudy YB is again. One minute. Yeah, Rudy YB you find is a Canadian author and and is also a professor in the Department of English at the University of Alberta since 1992. Okay,
Yes, sir.
and um, he did his BA from Alberta University of Alberta when he studied under the Rotary International Fellowship at the University of uh, Tübingen in West Germany, near uh, in Germany, and um, he has written, Bibi's novels are The First and the Vital Candle in 1966, The Blue Mountains of China in 1970, and The Temptations of Big Bear in 1973, The Mad Trapper in 1980. All these are some of the, books of his. So this basically this story, finds takes out the distinction between the life of speech and art and the sterility of fact and record. So technically, you find it contrasts the passive voice and the active with the active voice as a way of contrasting historical artifacts and documentary with art, belief, and vision. And you know the given facts we discover are very logical and traditional. So just a minute. Oh, I'm so sorry. I was in mute and I was talking.
It's okay, sir.
Okay. So yeah, so VP, trying here to show in this story that the law You find the history doesn't, record properly the exploration and the humiliation of native Indians at the hands of white settlers. Who are the white settlers?
British colonials, Britishers.
The Canadians.
Sir, here the Canadians are the white settlers.
Yeah,
Okay.
because he is talking about the lost past of the Indians in Canada.
Okay, sir. Got it.
Okay, and he becomes the voice of the natives. They're historians, and you like to put the record straight. And using bits and pieces of information, he reconstructs history as seen, from the point of view of the natives. So you see, in 1857 is a very history, very, very important in our history because it describes a mutiny by the Britishers. And that we call it, the first war of independence. So VB attempts to present, the history of the native Indian people of Canada. And of course, the way, you know, VB tries to reconstruct the events which fills with doubt about the white man's version. So you find using irony as a weapon, VB exposes the several, uh, you know, of the white man claims which are as hollow. And also by, contradicting the official version by juxtaposing, his own findings against the official claims. And you find we be successful in introducing an element of uncertainty about the reliability of the official claims. Yes, Supriya, want to ask something?
No, sir. No, sir. I'm getting your point.
So the bias of the white man is very, exposed, and we will find, mm, out that the policeman is the almighty voice is very, short and is killed as easily located by the graves of the three Indian heroes. And the grave which the Indians, believe long to Almighty voice is not accepted as such by the whites. So you find the main character is the story in the story is the Almighty voice. But more important than a simple character is the collective characters of the people, the natives. So VB tries to recreate or restore a people who have vanished from the pages of history, and from the memory of the modern generation. So you find in the beginning of this story, when VB says that he doesn't know from where to begin, he feels it may be more than enough to hear the names only, and such beautiful names such as one arrow spotted calf, and surrounding sky pale pace going up to sky, all these. And I was telling you about the designations of the policemen and the important government officials, the corporal, mm, the sergeant, the assistant commissioner, all these people whose names are ranked which appear extremely pedestrian before the names of the natives. So you find Weeby builds the character of Almighty voice. Initially, the picture is hazy, but then it adds, display and photographs. Okay.
Yes, sir.
You have any questions?
Sir, basically, this where the voice came from, that is fully portraying the humiliation or exploitation of the native Indians by the white settler, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I think in the book, read the critical analysis which is given.
Sir, I have my physical book with me.
You can go through the critical analysis. The critical analysis is done. Can you see?
Yes, sir. It is in the front. Critical assessment is here.
Hmm. You read that.
Sir, right now I should read.
No, 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 no. I'm saying you read it. Your,
Yes, sir. I will go through it. I will
yes,
go through it.
yes.
Yes. If I have any question, I will definitely ask you in the group.
Hmm, hmm. Then we have swimming lessons. Swimming lessons by Rohinton Mystery. Um, Basically, if you look at in this story, it talks about the problems of adjustment and acceptability for the migrants, the immigrants living in their adopted country face a very typical dilemma about their sense of belonging. Hmm. And hmm. and the and the you know chasm between the two cultures, which lead to the sense of alienation. So you find this swimming lessons. The author tries to show the superficial existence of the immigrants, and these immigrants, they stay in Canada, but these people who live in Canada, they do not know the actual Canadians. And you find there is a tension between wanting to belong and wanting to retain one's identity, which is very well delineated in this story. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So So the narrator is trying to present a continuous effect by the narrator's past between his memory and his parents and the present life of loneliness. And this life of Canada becomes, more meaningful when compared and contrast to the life of Bombay. It's trying to, compare here the life of Bombay and life of Canada. And the old and invalid, man living in his building reminds the narrator of his own grandfather. So he remembers here how his mother, used to take very good care of his grandfather, and comparing it with the care being meted out to the invalid. So the narrator is trying to, know the old man quite well and has talked to him many times, but um, one day suddenly realizes that he doesn't even know his name. And the old man, dies before the narrator gets an opportunity to ask him the name. So, swimming is a story which becomes a metaphor for acceptability. If he wants to assimilate with the Canadians, he must know swimming. Otherwise, he would remain on the fringe. So, this, becomes very clear when he goes to the first swimming classes and finds a chlorinated, water of the local pool as foreign as an element, as the suburban life around him. Okay, so you find
Yes, sir.
in almost an autobiographical mood, Mistry points out the difficulties he faced in Canada. He was unable to, swim with the tide, and how, learning swimming reflects the difficulties that he has faced as an immigrant. So once he learns to swim, that he would symbolize his overcoming the problem of being an immigrant. He would become one of the Canadians, uh, though not, necessarily, their their equal. And you find there are, sexual overtones to many of the narrators' dreams, which are handled very realistically and very ironically. But you find it is very natural for a young man living alone to have these sort of, dreams. Okay, clear.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir,
So
basically, where the symbols it is given that every symbol, like swimming lesson or these things are like pointing towards the immigrants' problems. And
mm,
if he is able to learn swimming, then it is like he overcome the difficulties which he is facing as an immigrant, right?
yeah, yes.
Okay.
Okay, now coming to the next is the last story is The Door I Shut Behind, written by Uma Parameshwaram. uh, Uma was, born at Madras and was, raised at Nagpur and Jabalpur. But her schooling and university education is from India. But in 1963, she went to the US on a Fulbright scholarship and got her PhD there. And in 1966, she moved to Winnipeg in Canada, where she continues to teach and write. So Uma, yeah, Uma was born in 1938, and she has retired as a professor of English at University of Winnipeg. So she has done her mm, BA from Jabalpur University and master's degree in journalism from Nagpur University. And she completed her master's in creative writing from Indiana University and her PhD from Michigan State University. To her credit, she has wrote Sons Must Die in 1962. Her plays include Meera in 1971 and Sita's Promise in 1981, My Sister in 1989, and as a part of the South Asian Canadian literature series that, Parameshwaran created and edited. Okay. Now, coming to this story, story deals again with the immigrant dilemmas, the ambivalent of the situation and the poignantly brought, by Parameshwaran. They are at times, between the devil and the deep sea. Whichever way they decide, some element of, regret remains embedded in their situation. After, building a contrast between the attitudes of Chandar and Agarwal, where, both are, critiqued and found, wanting in one way or the other, Parameshwaran develops the theme by placing them two characters in the midst of the gathering of Indian immigrants in Canada. So we see it is, at this get together that Chandar is able to glimpse the lifestyle and the mindset of the immigrants. And it is there that Chandar realizes the Trishankhu, which, like the status of Indian immigrants, for all their bravado and indifferences that they lead an unsuccessful life. So here Parameshwaran endorses a positive approach, saying, if people decide to adopt another country to live in, they must do it wholeheartedly. And they must not, look back, but, look ahead and hope and pleasure. And there can't be any half measures. It is these that lead to problem of belonging. Now, the immigrants must be able to, balance the demands of the present with the nostalgia of the past. So this is, about this story. Um, the door is shut behind me. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So these are the stories of the Canadian stories which are there in your syllabus.
Sir, here, both the character Chandar and Agrawal, they actually indicating towards that when you are immigrating to any country, that you have to adopt their like culture and tradition and all the
Mm.
things. You just
Mm.
forget about your native, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
What I suggest is please go through the critical assessments. Okay, read the critical assessments. Clear? Hello.
Yes, sir. Sir,
Yeah.
actually, I'm just going to ask you one previous question regarding this particular block.
Mm.
May I?
Which one? Yes. Ask.
Sir, this particular block. Compare and contrast the thematic concern of the short stories of Rohinton Mistry, Rudy Webb, and Sarah Jennifer Duncan with reference to the short stories in the syllabus.
Okay, so you will here you will reflect what are the themes that these authors have presented through their short stories.
Okay, sir. Sir, here in another previous question is comment on the theme of immigrant experience in the short stories of Rohinton Mistry and Uma Parmeshwar. The same thing that you said in earlier that I have to elaborate about the both all the things they are actually indicating towards the immigrants'
No, no,
view.
it is not. It is only asking about the immigrants problem. So you
Yes,
will
sir.
reflect the immigrant problem how the
Hmm.
two authors have tried to portray them.
Portrait them. Okay. Sir, here in December 2021, the question is here that write an essay on the elements of modernism and postmodernism in Canadian short stories. In this particular question, how I will write the answer, sir?
You will reflect the modern techniques which have been used and the postmodern techniques which have been used. So you have to read, for that you have to read modernism. You have to um, um, you read the modernism and postmodernism theory, then only you will be able to write. You will be able to relate to what is modernism and what is postmodernism.
Okay, sir. In the beginning of this block, sir, there is some main elements of a short story, and it has some character and that thing I have to go through it, right?
Yeah, you can talk about the difference between, means first you have to know what is the how modernism and postmodernism can be differentiated from each other, and then you can you can find from the text how modernism, and because modernism was very prevalent in the from the late 19th century to the earlier 20th century, where you find postmodernism was prevalent from the mid of the 20th century.
20th century. Okay.
And postmodernism was very influenced, by the Second World War, but this modernism was influenced by the First World War.
Okay.
Okay, so you have
Okay.
to, yeah, you have to.
Sir, regarding this, we have to go through any reference like what you suggest. Um,
I suggested one thing is, if you don't read history, you will not be able to relate. So you have to
okay, sir.
first read history.
Okay, sir.
First read history, then only you will be able to understand.
Got it, sir. Thank you.
Okay, so we can end the class here then.
Yes, sir. Sure,
Yeah.
sir. Sir,
So
tomorrow also we have class, right?
yeah, tomorrow we have class, but I'll tell you what time. I'll message you by 10 o'clock. I'll message you.
Yes, sir. Actually, I have one like another class is at around I think 8 a.m. So that's why actually I am asking. But when our class
Eight
is
to what time?
8 to I think 9:30, sir.
Okay. Hmm. Okay, I will. I have kept this in mind. Let me see what time we can do. Okay,
Okay, sir. Okay.
we can do it
Thank you so
sometime
much.
in the afternoon. Otherwise, okay.
Okay, sir. If you want, then I can resume the class. Like I can join the class from 9:30 onwards. If
Okay.
you.
Yeah. 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 I will. I will let you know.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank
Okay.
you.